Okay, so we've gone ahead, we've done our New York Botanical Garden tour, and we've set our stage and got all of our stuff ready to go. Now it's time to go ahead and do a sketch of our orchid. So if you don't have any live orchids at home, that's fine. I happen to have a couple, but you may not. You could do a image from Google, or you can do an image from the virtual tour. Okay, if you just don't like orchids and you prefer to do a rose or something else, that's fine. Okay, maybe you're allergic to orchids and you're like, oh, patootie, not for me. Okay, that's fine. But for the rest of us, we're going to give orchids a go. And that could be a little intimidating when you start to look at their leaves and how that works. So I just want to break it down for you and show you what I'm looking for and anticipating. And you can certainly spend more time and push this further. But when we look at orchids, I want you to take a look at how beautiful those little leaves are, okay? They're really delicate, right? And orchids come in, as you saw, all different sizes, shapes, colors, right? These are the two that I have that are in bloom. The other ones that I have aren't in bloom yet. So you just would see these green leaves on the bottom. Not overly exciting, right? But if you've never drawn them before, that could be a little bit tricky. So I want to share with you some easy ways to break that down, okay? I have here it's a small sketchbook. This is a 6x6, 4x4. I think it's a 6x6. But it's just a little small square sketchbook, probably something that I would take on a field trip because I could put it in my purse pretty quickly and easily. And I've got pencil and micron. I also, just for ha-has, have some colored pencils, okay? Use whatever you have. Really, it doesn't matter, okay? If you don't have your sketchbook at home with you and you've got some printer paper, fine, use that. If you've got something fancier, great, go for it. Okay, but I want to break it down for you so that you're not feeling any apprehension about this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share screen with you so that you can see my hands, and we're going to break this down a little bit. All right, so here we go. Okay, so you should be able to see my hands here, right? And you see my pencil, my pen. I am this light that glares. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get that turned off so you can see it a little bit better. So just hang on tight. There we go. Okay. That's a little bit easier for you to see. Okay. If I had done it before, you wouldn't be able to see me. So this is kind of a way to win it all. All right. When you look at orchids, and I'm going to zoom into this even easier, make things a little easier for you. A little closer. Okay, when we think about the shape of the orchid, and remember, I'm going to be sketchy, just like we talked about in class, right? You first want to think about it kind of being like a bow tie. And there's a lot of different ways to go about it. I'm just breaking it down into a really simple way. So if you want to get fancy, you are feeling more comfortable with drawing, then go for it. All right, so I've got just a really simple kind of bow tie-ish shape happening here. And one of the benefits to drawing flowers or nature is that if it's not exactly the same on both sides, it doesn't matter because things are not always exactly the same in nature anyway. All right, so that's part of the reason why I really like to do botanicals. It gives me a lot of freedom. If I make a mistake, nobody knows, right? Nobody cares. All right, so it's not obvious. The next thing is this center part. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to put a little circle in place here, and it comes down like a little light bulb. Okay, and then we have a horseshoe. So think about almost like a U, just like that. And it's going to loop. This comes up. And over. So kind of like a really long M, if you will, okay? This is a little fold, a little loop. And let me make that just a little bit bigger for you to see, okay? This is kind of a signature thing for orchids, right? So this comes up and down. This is the outside of the petal. This is the inside of the petal. So these, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this small enough, but there you go. Okay, that's a little bit better to see. And this kind of just comes down. Again, I'm using really simple shapes. So if you are feeling comfortable to do something a little bit more fancy, that's fantastic. If you're not, this is a good place to go ahead and get started with that. Okay. So this is going to come out. So it almost looks like a little angel, if you will. And comes over and dips down and back again. Okay, so there's that signature little fancy part. Okay, the top, usually, and again, all orchids are not created equally, but the top part is usually a taller, longer petal. So there you have it. And now the bottom, there's usually 2 other petals that are included. Here's 1. Here's 2. Okay, and we have some overlap. So now we've got a nice little orchid happening, and we're going to include our stem. Sometimes stems are a little bit different. The thickness of the stem is important to think about. With orchid stems, they tend to have not right angles, but some of these little sharper angles. So I'm including that there. There you go. And I'm going to include 1 little leaf. Just like that. Okay, so I have a simple orchid that I've just done with pencil. And if I have time, right, because we are sketching, right, on a field trip, so sometimes you have more time than others, but if I would have time, I would come back in here and start to define that a little bit more. Notice how sketchy I'm being, right? My lines are not perfectly straight. I'm okay with that. My lines are really expressive. Okay, there we go. Now we can see it a little bit better. I might push some line alteration or line sensitivity. So right now, for the most part, all of my lines have the same treatment, the same thickness. I'm going to go back and think about where those shadows would be so that it starts to pop out. You can see how that starts to work really well for us. Since this one overlaps here, this would probably be a little bit darker. It's the shadow from the petal coming from above. I might even include some little lines to push that idea of that shadow. just like that. Just playing around with a little hatching. And accentuate those bends a little bit. Really, you want to think about this where it curves. And it just gives a little bit more pop. To your piece, to your orchid. Okay, so here's my orchid. If I want to, like I showed you before, if I have some colored pencils and I want to include that, great. I'll include a little bit here real fast. You know, again, if we were at the botanical gardens for a field trip, we would have very limited time. This would be very, very quick. So here's that. I'm gonna give my center part a nice little yellow. And I am a big fan of purple. So I'm just gonna give this a little purple love here from the center coming out. You can choose whatever color you like. And I'm gonna go ahead and let this be a different color altogether. And just for ha-has, because this is inside the curve, I'm gonna give this a little cross hatching too, okay? You could certainly, like I said, get more fancy, but this is the type of thing that I'm looking for. I hope you guys just have some fun with it. Please ask me questions, email me, Zoom me. We will have a live meeting next week and we'll go from there, okay? Have a great day, take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.